Hello, my name is John Dillon, and we're here to talk about Apex programming. Today's topic is going to be trigger Hello World. We did a Hello World a few weeks back on Visualforce, and we do have a trigger video, but it wasn't as simple as a Hello World. So we're going to take a step back and do the simplest trigger possible, and that is a Hello World. First, we'll start talking just what is a trigger. A trigger is any piece of logic or code that you want to execute upon an activity happening to an object. For instance, when you create an object, we might want to execute some logic. When we update or delete or any sort of modification to an object, there might be some things that we want to happen. So for today's example, we are going to look at attaching a trigger to the lead object. So from Dev Console, all we have to do is say new Apex trigger. And then we get to this screen where we get to name the trigger and then pick which object it's going to associate to. So we'll just simply call this one Hello World. And we'll attach it to the lead. And Dev Console fills out a lot of information for us. So here's what we've got. First, we're declaring that it's a trigger. And this is the name that we gave it, Hello World Trigger. And here's where we associate it to the object. It's a trigger on the lead. That means it's only going to pay attention when updates or changes are made to a lead. And here is where we specify when this trigger runs. Right? By default, it's running before insert. So we have several options. This can be before insert, before update, before delete, a couple of others. And also it can happen after. Now the difference between before and after, before insert means we're going to run our logic before the lead actually gets inserted into the system. If we were to say after insert, then it would wait until once the lead is inserted, after it was done, we would take our action. So for now, we're just going to stick with before insert. We'll take a look at some of the other options after we do our initial logic. So in between these curly braces is where we put in any logic that we want to happen. So to keep this as simple as possible, and in the spirit of Hello World, we're simply going to type something out to the logs. And when we save it, we can actually get this to execute by creating a lead. So let's go to our user interface for that. So here we are looking at the leads. And if I were to create a new one, so there, all we did was create the lead. If we look at our logs and switch over to debug, we can see our message printed out. So that's as simple as it gets. That's our Hello World. Obviously, we'd like to take it maybe one step further. We can also do an after insert. And let's take a look at what happens there. Now this trigger is going to run on both before the insert and after it's inserted. So if we create a new lead, and we go to our log, now we see Hello World coming out twice. The reason it came out twice is because when we inserted that lead, first it ran the before triggers, then it ran the after triggers, and this trigger runs in both cases. So there you have it, short and sweet, and this was a Hello World version of a trigger, which is a starting point in developing a trigger that's more functional and obviously does more things than simply this. If you're new to Apex, or even if you've been doing it for a while, I encourage you to check out my free mini course on Apex patterns and anti-patterns. It's a helpful guide to show you things to do in Apex and also a couple things to avoid. Check it out. It's free, and I will see you next time.